one of the things I really wanted to kind of, to push out was it's going to get tough, but do not give up, because like I said, I was ready to give up within that, that first year. It was, like I said, it was rough. You're going to have moments, to where you can barely afford to fill up your gas tank. And, you're going to have moments, you'll have 5 or 6,000 in your bank account, plus easily, just don't give up. Just keep riding that wave and keep pushing it, because the moment you give up, you will instantly regret it. You will instantly regret it, unless you're just in financial bind. It's not working for you, of course.
Mhm. Hey, what's going on? My name is Dustin. I'm the host of the Detail Spot podcast. And in this episode, we have on Jacob Dixon with Dixon's Mobile Detailing based out of Orlando area. Jacob comes on and talks all about his journey, how he started, where he's at today, some goals that he has in his business, and some information that he wanted to share with you guys. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I really enjoyed this episode. I know you're going to as well. And as always, if you're enjoying the content that's coming from this channel, if you can leave us a review either on Apple Podcast or Spotify, it's going to greatly help the channel grow so that we can reach other detailers. And I also want to invite you to join the detail community. It's a platform for detailers either looking to start their business, grow their business, or to take their business to the next level. So if that is you, I know you're going to get something from the detail community. And right now we're in a founding member stage, so you can become a founding member. This is going to be going away really soon. But right now you can join for $27 a month and you get your first 30 days for only $1. You can try it out, see if you like it. But if you actually take action on the things inside, it is proven to take your business to the next level. You're going to get access to a library of resources. It has over 50 plus videos and classes on marketing, sales, strategies, tools, showing you click by click. So you don't have to go years of trying things and seeing if it works. This shows you exactly what works, what's worked for me, and what has worked for other top detailers within the industry. You also get access to exclusive podcast episodes and a community forum area to where you can get support from other members inside that you can grow, connect with, ask questions. And you also get access to a pre-made promotional templates area to where you don't have to spend a ton of money hiring a graphic designer or spend a ton of money or time designing these yourselves. These are pre-made specifically for detailers. So if you are, needing some type of promotional template or some type of advertisement to post to social media, these template packs are added regularly to your library. So you can just come on, grab a pack, and then upload it to your social media. So that you get access to all of that, plus so much more. It's only $27 a month right now. This is going away really soon, and you get your first 30 days for only $1. So become a founding member before this deal goes away. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, the link will be in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, the link will be in the description. And you can also go to thedetailcommunity.com. All right, so we got Jacob Dixon here. Tell us a little bit about your business, Jacob. How did you get into detailing, and just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So, well, to make, I guess, a long story shorter, I started the detailing industry back in San Antonio, Texas. It was back in like 2010, 2011 timeframe, I think. And I started out working for a dealership, Tom Benson Honda and Chevrolet, just doing little details here and there. And so they hired me full time, and they taught me the actual process of how to do paint correction, how to do ceramic coating, so on and so forth. And I took it from there, and I went to an exotic dealership up there in San Antonio. I went and worked for a Lamborghini dealership up there, and that's where I learned how to do PPF, ceramic coating, window tint, all the good stuff. And so I quit that for a little bit because I actually moved away from San Antonio, Texas, and I went back down to Florida, and I started doing construction. And I was doing that for some years, and after time it gets really aggravating, just living paycheck to paycheck, and I can't make my own hours, and I wanted to be my own boss. So I had to really sit back and think, what do I want for myself, what I want for my family, because this isn't it. This isn't working. My wife's a RN, so she's working crazy hours, to make up for what I can't bring in. So it wasn't working. So I decided, I'm gonna start detailing, since I have some experience in it. I'm gonna go ahead and start that up. And I started that up about 2.5 years ago. And when we first started, it was just strictly detailing. I didn't know, I did know a little bit about the PPF, because being in Texas, but my mind wasn't refreshed with everything because it's been some years. So I just started detailing, and then slowly and surely started getting back into the paint correction, the ceramic coating types of things. And then once I got into it, it took off, and it's been nonstop since.
Heck yeah. That's awesome, man. What was the difference in like working for just a regular dealership and then moving up to like an exotic dealership? Did you learn a lot like about the industry as a whole there?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's completely different. Like the attention to detail is the biggest thing that I noticed, because at the smaller dealerships, they tend just to want to wash the car, vacuum it out, and send it out, to the person that's buying the car. But when you go to these exotic dealerships, they're expecting, pristine vehicles when they get them. They spend a lot of money on these vehicles, so they want them to look nice. So the big difference was the attention to details there, and just the little things, like what it comes down to, like little things like the rags you use, it was those little tiny things like that made all the difference in the world. And it really brought up my game a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I know like some of like, the typical Chevy dealership, Hyundai dealerships, like those typical dealerships, they don't really care about like, and they may not even know about, things such as like, we can actually call swirl marks if we don't, properly wash the vehicle. Whereas like Lamborghini or Porsche or one of these higher end dealerships, they're going to take that precaution, and they're going to know, hey, you shouldn't wash it this way. You should do it as a professional, and also kind of like the uniformity of it as well. Like, Lamborghini, Porsche, like those are high end luxury vehicle manufacturers. And they want you to look the part as well, which is kind of cool, because now you get that kind of skill set from coming from a place like that. And now you can incorporate that in your business as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a game changer. It really has.
Heck yeah, man. So what is something that you did in the very, very early stages of your business to kind of get that traction going, to get that ball rolling?
So what really got the ball rolling, to be honest with you, was my SEO. Because I was doing my own marketing, and I was getting business, I was staying pretty busy, but once I bit the bullet and hired my SEO, which on that, it took me a good 6 months before I ever pulled the trigger. I would talk to this man daily, because I wasn't real sure on how those things work, so I talked to him for about 5 or 6 months before I ever pulled the trigger on it. When I pulled the trigger, and he's like, all right, just trust me, trust the process. So that's exactly what I did. And man, ever since then, he's been putting in work for us. It's turned out great.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, SEO is by far, I always tell everybody, like most of your leads are going to come from Google. Like it's just, most of those clients are ready to pull the trigger on a service like detailing. And I do think that like you can get some type of business going from like your typical word of mouth. I think you can get your business going from social media. But I saw that as well. Like SEO was that big, majority of our leads coming in did come from Google. It came from, hey, once you get that ranking going, and you can either like learn it yourself, which takes forever to like,
yeah, you can. Absolutely.
Or there's so many guys in our space now that are subject matter experts and can do it for you if you have the budget. So like that would be my biggest advice to anybody is like, hey, once you get a little bit of funds set aside, put it into SEO, put it into either learning it or giving it to someone who can do it for you and get you up there on the ranking.
Absolutely. Because you will make your money back tenfold, but people, a lot of people with SEO, they tend to think, it's going to happen right away. And that was my thing. I was assuming it was a right away thing. They're going to put my Google ad on there and I'm going to take off. And that's, I was sadly mistaken when I found out that's not how it works. You just, so if you do decide to hire SEO, just trust the process, trust your team. They know what they're doing. They know what's going on. Just trust the process and let it ride out. And slowly but surely you will start getting, the Google ranking and the calls and the emails and all that good stuff. It does come with time.
That's super frustrating too. It's because like you do put a lot of either time or money into this SEO and you're like, man, how long is it going to take? Because you really don't see results for 2, 3, 4, sometimes 6 months to a year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. It took us around 3 or 4 months to finally start seeing results come in, and I was almost ready to give up and stop paying. I was like, man, this isn't working. He's like, just trust me, give it another month or so. And I gave it another month and it took off.
Sure enough. Yeah, that's awesome, man. What part of Florida are you in?
So right now we are in Orlando, Winter Park area. We moved here about almost 6 months ago. Something, yeah, about 6 months ago. Before that, we was in Pensacola, Florida, close to the Alabama-Florida line. And the market is completely different than it is, down here compared to, Northwest Florida. I guess I guess it's more luxury living down here. A lot of tourists come down here. There's a lot more money down here. So that's been a big change. And another thing is down here in Orlando, I haven't been advertising it really, but I haven't got any beaten up cars. I haven't got anything like that compared to where Northwest Florida, man, people rag their vehicles. Here it's like completely different ball game, and I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah, it makes detailing a lot more enjoyable when you're not
Oh, it
working
does.
on,
It does.
shit boxes all the time. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually stopped advertising for upholstery cleaning and shampooing and extraction. I don't even advertise for stuff like that no more, just because, when I started out early on, that's all I was doing day in and day out. And don't get me wrong, there was great money in that, 110% great money, but it's not for me, and it's not for a lot of people. I don't want to be crawling on my hands and knees around a filthy car all day. I just something I want to do. But to each its own. Everybody has their their nicks or whatnot. So
yeah, no, I agree. Like there's a market for everybody. And
absolutely.
I felt that same way. I did start with those interiors, the shampooing, the upholstery, but there was a point to where I did have to pivot because I didn't feel that it was like sustainable for me. I didn't
Absolutely.
feel like my mind could handle working on those cars every day. And it's crazy because all it took was literally to just stop advertising it. It was
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yep.
you and I think it's kind of hard though, because you take a lot of pride in like you do this cool transformation and it looks so good and you want to show it off to people. But what happens
Right.
when you show it off to people? People are like, oh man, he can do that to my car too. And
Exactly.
it just never ends.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. What you put out there, what you advertise is what you're going to get back, and and that's, that's huge saying that, because, there's a lot of companies that have, detailing in their name, but they don't even do detailing. They just do straight ceramic coating and paint correction, and it's really mind boggling, how that stuff kind of works out.
It just shows that they probably started that same direction
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We all
Yeah.
start from somewhere. We all got to start from the bottom, so it's
hmm
been an adventure for sure. I'm definitely enjoying it.
Yeah. And what are some things that you notice that now you're in 2, 3 years? What are some things you notice you have to do now that you really didn't have to do when you're in the beginning stages?
Um, Pound and ask for reviews. That's one of my stickler things. I always follow up, with reviews, because at first, I didn't think reviews really went that far, because I was thinking from my mindset, well, I don't really look at reviews, so these people ain't looking at reviews, and I was completely wrong by that. So at first, I really wasn't pushing, for reviews, and then once I started to get into the paint correction type of things, I was like, okay, I need to start getting reviews, and we're at like 45 5-star reviews now, so it's definitely been picking up on the reviews here lately, because that's something I pound into my customers. I don't annoy them with it, but I even offer them like $5 or $10 off to leave a 5-star review or something like that. And that's something they bite on, and it actually works.
Yeah, it does take an incentive. I noticed like I kind of played with I'm the same way. I kind of pound for those as well. And I did notice like, hey, just asking for it didn't work. They have to
Nope.
have some type of incentive. No one does
Absolutely.
anything for free now. So
Right.
I did it to where like every client that we detail 30 minutes to an hour after, I have this pre-made text and it's like, hey, I
Right.
just wanted to follow up, say thank you so much for your business, and to make sure you are 100% satisfied. And when doing that, they either say yes, I was satisfied, or they say no, you're one of your guys missed this and this.
Right.
Well, what that does is it's like, hey, now I can fix that situation before they get on Google and leave a bad review. And if they say
Exactly.
yes, I was satisfied, now you can go ahead and shoot them that review link and say, hey, one thing I did was like, I'll give you I give like a $5 Starbucks gift card, and
Right.
it's so worth it to me because $5 for the return of, a potential client getting on there and saying, man, like these guys have great reviews. I want to use this.
Right.
And you're so right too, because most clients, when they're on Google, that's almost the determining factor of whether they want to use you or someone
Oh,
else.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I also found out it's very important to reply to those reviews as well. Don't just leave them blank. When they leave a review, go in there and say, hey, thank you. Or if it's a bad review, go in there and say, hey, how can we fix this? You know, so on and so forth. Definitely don't leave the reviews blank. Reply to them, because customers do look at that as well. How you respond to criticism, how you respond, you know, to the good and the bad. And they look at all that stuff. They do. They tell me all the time, you know, we look at your reviews and they're great. And I'm like, wow, these people really take their time and read almost every review. And they do. They will, because they're spending a lot of money to get their stuff done, you know. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. And they're also like trying to get a vibe of your personality too. Because like people want to do business with people. So like when you're responding to those reviews, they're like, man, this guy sounds like a guy I want to do business with.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's about building a relationship and building a trust with that customer. You know, you're not just there just to service their vehicle. And a picture, you know, in a small picture you are, but the big picture, you know, I want that customer, you know, for as long as possible, for life, you know. So I want to create a bond and create a relationship, you know, with that customer, you know, to keep them coming back, you know, keep their word of mouth for me.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And that's what it takes in an industry like this. You know, you have businesses like retail, and you have like product-based businesses that function totally different than a service-based business. When we are most all of us, and probably anybody listening to this, is located in an area to where they need word of mouth. They need to have a good reputation. And and it's all about that relationship. It's all about how close to people can you get while still growing your business.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I really do.
Yeah. And another thing with reviews is like, not only is it our clients reading it, but it's part of Google's algorithm too. It's like, hey, the more consistent you are getting reviews, they see you as an established business.
Absolutely.
They want to show you to, because Google doesn't want their reputation to Google wants to only put out people who they think and they know is established and produces quality. So they're going to kind of reward you as well for getting those consistent good reviews.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, they absolutely will.
Now, is that your only form? Is that like your primary form of marketing is Google? Do you have like social media? Do you do anything on there?
Yeah, so we use Google and we use Facebook, and we just started using TikTok. I don't really have Instagram. I've never really gotten into the Instagram thing, but I hear, you know, people do get a lot of business through Instagram. It's just something I haven't ventured off to. I'm sure I will, but Facebook, man. So Facebook has a really good marketing thing they got going on, and about 30 to 40% of my business comes from Facebook. The rest from Google or whatever. But yeah, if you can find that niche on Facebook, sometimes it can be difficult, you know, to play around with the words and your audience and stuff like that. But once you find, you know, you gotta fine tune the little things. But once you have it tuned up, man, like it does. Sometimes I'll get more leads from Facebook than I will Google sometimes, and that's just the way it goes, you know. But Facebook is definitely a solid audience if you can perfect, you know, your criteria and whatnot.
I think it comes down to like where you're located at too, because Facebook a lot of times is like an older demographic. It's kind of getting into that era of like, you know, my sister's like, she's 19 and she's like, I don't even use Facebook, you know, like a lot of like, I think 30+ year olds are still on Facebook. And if like your area is primarily filled with 30+year-olds or your target client is, you know, Facebook could be a good option. Yeah. Instagram and TikTok. Like I have not, there's a lot of guys who get a ton of business on TikTok, and I see it as like, I think it would be hard to try to like target your specific area with TikTok. But Instagram, I've had good luck with Instagram. I think that was my biggest one was, first starting Facebook was killer. And then I transitioned kind of into Instagram, and you know, you have all these platforms, and it's like, hey, where you can't really put every focus on each one of them. So like I try to filter out like, hey, Facebook, if it's giving me more business, I'm going to put more time and effort on that. So I kind of I try to have like 2 to 3 main platforms.
Right. Now I do have a question with that Instagram. So does Instagram have like a marketing thing like Facebook has that you can push out ads and stuff like that? Because that's something I'm unaware of.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do ads manager through your Facebook as well. So like all of that, all of your ads should come from that same ads manager. I think you just flip it over to Instagram.
Okay, okay, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out. I might have to give Instagram a shot because I hear a lot of people doing business on there. It's just something I haven't ventured off to, but we will.
And honestly, I've never even ran. I did all Instagram organically. And the reason I like Instagram is because you have a search feature and you can kind of start narrowing down where your client is. What it is you can find your ideal client easier with the search feature. So if like, say you were or Orlando, for instance, like if you wanted to search cars and coffee Orlando or coffee and octane or whatever you like,
Right.
local car club, you can start finding people that live in your area and
Yes.
have cars. It's like your ideal client. You can start interacting with them easier.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, that's huge.
That's a
That's
big one because like Facebook's a little bit harder to find those people.
it
And then
is. It is.
you
Yeah.
know, so it doesn't function the same way. And I really like Instagram because you can kind of jab at that person, start building like a relationship through Instagram and like commenting on their stories and like, man, I love the wheel setup you have on your car. Like, and just
Right.
doing that for a month or so. And then they're
Yeah.
like, man, my car's kind of dirty this month. Well, you've already talked to them a few times on Instagram. They're like, of course I'm giving this guy a shot.
Right. Yeah, you have that relationship that we talked about earlier. It's
Mm-hmm.
about building the relationship, so they can, so they'll fall back on you whenever they need you.
Yeah, the relationship is the key pretty much on everything, whether it be social media, Google, not so much just because there is no like interactive feature on Google, but those people are already ready to pull the trigger. They're searching for it because they're ready for it. But
Right.
yeah, social media and when you provide the service, all about that relationship. That ultimately is what, whether you're going to be in business next year, 5 years, or 10 years from now.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It is a huge deciding factor. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who think they get into this industry and they're just going to have success overnight and they're going to get rich like that, and
Yep.
that's the wrong mindset. It's like
Absolutely.
ultimately how you should be thinking is like, how many people can I meet that enjoy me and enjoy my business? That is what's going to ultimately make it to where you make money
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's where I kind of was mistaken at first. When I first jumped into detailing on my own as a business, I was kind of expecting instant success. Because my head was kind of big, and I was like, I've done this for years professionally, so I should get business right away, and I should take off. No, it don't work that way, because there's other companies that that have their name engraved and engraved here. They've been here for 10, 11, 12, 15 years, and I was trying to compete with them, and trying to be cocky at the same time, and it's just I had to humble myself real quick, because you're gonna learn quick if you don't humble yourself,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. It's hard to it's hard starting like those beginning year, 2 years, 3 years, like till you get the grasp of things. Like it is
Right.
hard to get people to know who you are when you already have
Absolutely.
multiple established businesses around you. Like, some areas are untapped. Some areas you could sneak right in and be number one in 1 year.
Yeah, absolutely. You can.
But saturated cities are harder because you need to say, hey, how can I become relevant, essentially? Because you got
Right.
some big names in big cities. And
Oh yes, yeah, especially like here in Orlando. I don't know if y'all have ever looked at the market down here, but on every corner there is literally a detailer, and everybody and their sister does ceramic coatings down here. I do get a lot. I get a lot of customers, that come to me with a lot of wrong information. And they're like, yeah, well, this detailer told me that, I can do this with a spray coating, and the market is just oversaturated with quote unquote detailers right now. And that's another thing I had to adjust to once I got here. Cause of course, Pensacola, you got some detailers, but here in Orlando, it's on every single corner. And I kid you not, it's everywhere here. And it's something you got to learn how to compete with, keep your prices competitive and whatnot.
And it's kind of a pro and a con because Pensacola, if I'm not mistaken, kind of has a lower population when it comes to like people who actually live there.
Yeah.
Whereas
Correct.
like Orlando, man, a lot of people live there. You have a ton of population, a lot of people. So the more businesses is kind of to be expected, but there's enough people, I think, to kind of tap into,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about how you tap into it and when, honestly. Because right now, like during these hot summer months, you're gonna have detailers pop up that you've never even heard of before, and then they'll be gone, after summer's over, So, you just gotta keep going, keep pushing, keep going, Because I was ready to give up. The first year or so was rough. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't an easy route, but you do a lot of learning within that first, the first year or two. You do a lot of learning.
Testing things, trying new things. Hey, that didn't work. Now I'm going to try
Absolutely.
this. And I was the same way, man. I failed miserably my first year. Like I was that person who thought like, man, I do such a great job. Like, and little did I know, now I actually probably didn't, because I didn't know anything. I thought I knew how to buff a car, but I really didn't know what I was looking at. But I thought I was so good at detailing, I could clean a car the best, but little did I know there's so much more that it comes with it.
Yes, there is. Yeah, there's a lot that comes with it.
Yeah. And I wasn't even in like a city like Orlando. So the success you had in 2-3 years, that's great. Like I was in a city it's a suburb of Nashville, and it had a population of maybe 40 to 60,000 people. So nowhere near, as the population of Orlando. But it took me about a year. And then after a year, I failed. I actually quit detailing and went and worked like a 9 to 5, and then came back a few months later because it made me sick that I did quit. But yeah, man, it takes a lot of, the looking into SEO, looking into, social media, all these strategies, these systems that you need to be doing. You don't even think about in the beginning. It's like, man,
absolutely.
You think it's just going to come to you. Like,
yeah. And that's exactly how I thought, especially for that first year, was it's going to come to me, and that's not how it worked. Yeah. I had a few word of mouth clients. I put the word out and I'll get, clients that way, but completely different to compared to when you start pushing, SEO and whatnot out.
And it's sad too, because like you think if you do such a phenomenal job, like that client, man, they're going to tell 20 people, and realistically, 1 out of 10 people, a lot of times that you detail for will tell other people, but the other 9 just, it won't. So you got to reach the masses, man. It's like,
absolutely. And another thing that we've been doing, after we finish a client's car, we always put a door tag on their rearview mirror or on their center console, with a pamphlet or whatnot. And we always leave them a towel and a couple business cards, not 1 or 2, but a couple of them. So that way, if they do want to give that word of mouth out, they have 10, 11 business cards to pass out to everybody, and that's been a huge help too.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's nice. And it kind of gets your brand out there too. Like, it's
it 100% does. It really does.
Yeah. And I always like doing that as well. I didn't do that in the beginning stages, but later on we started doing like mirror hangers, kind of just putting that logo, that brand right in front of their face and saying, hey, this is who we are. I'm going to embed it right there. I'm going to stamp it in your head so that like, we're the guy that you want to use when you need detailing.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
You almost got to do things that like others aren't willing to do. Like, you have to succeed
in this industry. You really do.
Yeah. Because of how saturated it is, man. There's so many of them.
It's very saturated.
So what are some goals that you have for your business? Like maybe within the next year or 2 years?
So definitely within the next year to 2, I would like to be in a bigger shop for sure. That's definitely the main goal, is to be in just a bigger raw. And, that's mainly what I'm shooting for right now. And of course, more volume, always pushing for that. But right now, our main goal is, to get in a bigger shop so we can, push more vehicles out at one time instead of having to do 1 or 2, here, so that's the main goal right now, is, to get in a bigger shop and, just to keep growing. Of course, always keep growing. That's, that's huge. Just keep growing.
Yeah, 100%. What's like the commercial property like in Orlando? Is it pretty expensive?
It's so like there's this little shop next to a Supreme Detail store we have here. It's like 1,500 square feet, if that, and they wanted like $4,000 a month for it, and it's insane. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, it's very, very expensive.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I've been looking at like I'm in Jacksonville now, actually.
Right.
That's where I live, and I'm looking for like that's about the size that I'm trying to find, some like a studio style.
Right.
And man, it's either in like a shithole, and it's like $2,000 for this in an alley type place, or $4,000 for like a good area. But
right now, granted that $4,000 did come with like a showroom floor. So like whenever you first walk in the shop, you have an option to have the showroom floor with a nice car there. But other than that, man, it's just like I can't find nothing for under, 35, 4,000. It's just really expensive here.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a lot of areas right now. A lot of areas are, with real estate being as high as it is, it's going to be hard to get that killer deal anymore. And which I think will raise, like, I think it's inevitable. I think I see it a lot of times, like detailers, hey, should I raise my prices right now? Are we matching the inflation that's going on? And I think we definitely should. I think it's, prices are going up. You can't rent a shop for $1,000, $1,500 anymore.
No, not anymore. No, no. So, speaking on the inflation, you definitely, like, I just recently had to bump my ceramic coating prices up another $100, because of inflation. Everything's just going through the roof. So like I said, I got to go on through the roof with it. Get lost. Yeah,
you do. I mean, the price of a dollar is not. It's not the same as, or the value of a dollar isn't what it was 3, 4, 5 months ago. So we got to match what that value is going to be.
Right.
And it causes an increase.
Absolutely. And there's also been something I kind of been wanting to dabble with, and that's accepting Bitcoin as payment. Because there's a lot of people here in Orlando that deal with Bitcoin, and they typically have a decent amount of money. So a lot of people, are recommending, try Bitcoin as a second payment, and that's something I'm about ready to dabble into, because I think that could be a good thing for the future for sure.
Yeah, I think it could, like, I don't know like a ton about Bitcoin. I kind of dabbled in it whenever, not this last rise in price. So like I would say 2016, 2017 timeframe when it like skyrocketed. I kind of started getting into the altcoins and Bitcoin a little bit there. But yeah, I don't know. Like maybe that could be like your form of investment. Like anybody who pays with Bitcoin, hey, that's my investment. If it does take off, then boom.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, of course, that's not going to be for everybody, but it's just something, that I'm willing to, experiment with. If it doesn't work, it is what it is. I'm not going to invest a whole bunch into it, but it's something I will definitely look into.
Yeah. Trial and error, man.
Absolutely.
That's all it's about. What is something that you wanted to talk about, like when you got on here?
So one of the things I really wanted to kind of, to push out was, it's going to get tough, but do not give up, because like I said, I was ready to give up within that, that first year. It was, like I said, it was rough. You're going to have moments, to where you can barely afford to fill up your gas tank, and, you're going to have moments, you'll have 5,000 or 6,000 in your bank account, plus easily, just don't give up. Just keep riding that wave and keep pushing it, because the moment you give up, you will instantly regret it. You will instantly regret it, unless you're just in financial bind. It's not working for you, of course, But yeah, definitely do not give up. And for the people ragging on underdog, just stop it. You love it.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I 100% agree with that, because like I said, that was my story. That like I gave up, I quit, I failed, and it was like, and you really don't fail, and if you don't quit, like if you're still going at it, you're still giving it your all, you're still putting in the effort, you have not failed yet. And you may have tried something that didn't work, but you did not quit. If you don't quit, you don't fail. You're still succeeding in some type of way. You're still pursuing. The big thing is you're still pursuing your own dream. You're still pursuing to be your own boss, because it will take off. Like say it takes even 5 years for somebody, this is my thing when it comes to detailing or whatever you're in. If it takes 5 years for it to just boom and gives you that financial freedom that you want, your business is just taking off, in 5 years, you're going to look back and be like, thank God I didn't quit. Thank God I stayed in this, Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, you can't be afraid to grow, don't be afraid to take constructive criticism by any means, because that's what's really going to help you grow is, just constructive criticism. That helped me grow a lot, was constructive criticism, so if somebody's giving you criticism, just take it and try to turn it positive, because I know a lot of people, they'll get a bad review, or somebody will say something and they'll just get down and they'll think about quitting, over that one review, over that one bad person, and it's just, you got to take that and use it as a growing moment. You have to grow from them little mess ups, and that's how you get it perfection, is learning from them little mess ups,
Oh, 100%, man. And I'll still to this day, and I don't think that feeling, that sting ever goes away of like a client leaving you a review or sending you a text saying, hey, I'm not happy with how this service came out, because that is going to happen. You're going to have different detailing is so hard in that way. Like you have so many different opinions on what is a good job and a bad job. You have a different client that is pickier when another client's not, so it is an extremely hard industry to grow in, and easier in some ways because it doesn't take a lot of money to get started. So it's kind of, it's got its pros and cons, but that sting of a client leaving me a review or a bad review, or, texting me saying, hey, your guys missed this, that does not go away because you take so much pride in your business, and it really shouldn't go away. It's just all about how you pivot from it. Hey, don't take it as like, man, this lady's, she's overly picky, or she doesn't know what she's talking about. Take it as like, hey, how can I correct my business, my systems, and how I detail, so that the next person that comes along doesn't, leave me a bad review.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I said, you just can't be afraid to grow, and, don't, learn from every single mistake. You have to learn from every single mistake. When it gets hard, just don't give up. Just keep pushing it.
And that's something too cool about the constructive criticism, is the fact that, like, I think a lot of guys get a ton of pride in this industry. I think like, hey, they're making, they're making this, and their business is here, but they overlook some of the advice that maybe some guy in the beginning stages could give them. Obviously they may have more to pour into that newer guy, but there's so much information that is overlooked. Like this young guy that's just starting he may be better, or he may know a tip on social media marketing that this guy that has been in business 10 years doesn't know. Like, you got to have a crazy open mind in this industry to succeed. Like, you got to be able to listen to the new guy, the older guy, the guy who's been doing it for 50 years. Like, everybody has some type of information that we can all learn from each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll take advice from anybody. I don't care how old or young you are, because they might know something that, that I might not know. And that could become a huge asset for my business later down the road, but you're not going to please everybody. But what you can try to do is try to please everybody, and, just try to be the best you can for your business and that person,
Yeah. Go into it with the mentality of, hey, I'm going to make every person happy, but also be prepared if you can't, like, hey, if there's always going to be a client that isn't going to be satisfied no matter what or who is doing the service, but how do you react to that? And how do you counter that person coming at you with like a combative, in a combative way? Like, how are you going to be the professional? And that's something I always had fun with, actually. Yeah, it does sting, like I said, but like, this is a game. Like, how can you, if I have, a client that comes in, throws me off guard, maybe I've had 20 great clients the past 3 days or 4 days, and then I've got that one that throws me off guard and I wasn't expecting it. How can I be professional, steer them in the right way so that they turn maybe from combative to now happy and wants to use my service in the future? How can I get the best situation from the worst situation? Absolutely. And I kind of look at it as a game. It's kind of fun sometimes to say, absolutely. Hey, when they come in and I'm like, man, all right, cool, game face.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Heck yeah, cool deal, man. How can the viewers find you? Do you have an Instagram or a Facebook, or wherever you want them to you just send them to?
So we're on Google, Dixon's Mobile Details. We're on Facebook as well, Dixon's Detailing and Ceramic Coatings. We also have a TikTok. That's under Dixon's Mobile Details as well. That's where you can find us.
Heck yeah, man, dude, I enjoyed it. I'm glad you came on.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on here. It's an honor. Thank you.
Absolutely, dude. So that is it for this episode. A really good episode with Jacob. He shares some of his goals in his business and the importance of getting reviews in your business, and how SEO has really helped move his business to the next level. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, make sure to share it with a friend on social media so that they can get something from it as well. And make sure to leave us a review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's going to greatly help the channel grow so that we can reach more people. And I hope to see you on the next episode of the Detail Spot podcast. And thank you for listening.